Welcome to this edition of InsurTech Talk, brought to you by Avast. Our hosts today are Kitty Ambers, Chief Growth Officer at Avast, and George Robertson, Business Development Consultant and Authority on Insurance Technology. Now, here are your hosts, Kitty Ambers and George Robertson.
The goal with this program is to help agents navigate insurance technology. We feature a specific topic each month based on input from our participants. My name is Kitty Ambers, and in my more than 3 decades in the insurance industry, I have worn many hats, including time in our family-owned agency, with a carrier, as a teacher, trainer, and consultant, as an association executive, and currently as the Chief Growth Officer for an InsurTech startup, Avast. By sharing my experiences in this format, I hope to help our audience by providing practical and actionable tips for implementing technology that can enhance the customer experience and increase agency profitability. And joining me in this effort is Mr. George Robertson of George Robertson Consulting. George has a very diverse background in our industry and is a knowledgeable technology enthusiast. George, thank you so much for joining me, and I invite you to share just a bit about your background in the industry.
Thank you, Kitty. And as you know, my background is in the technology and insurance space. I started my career with Data General as a programmer back in 1984. In 1994, I moved back to my hometown and purchased my father's insurance agency, allowing me the opportunity to combine my knowledge of insurance and technology. My passion for the insurance industry and technology has provided me with the opportunity to serve on the Agents Council for Technology Executive Board, where I was able to assist in guiding agents, carriers, and MGAs on this ever-changing world of InsurTech. And over the past 15 years, I've had the opportunity to work with several of the major insurance technology vendors, serving in different roles from sales to business development.
Well, great, and it's so great to have you, George. Thank you so much. During our last episode of InsurTech Talk, George and I outlined 5 insurance agency operations fundamentals that we encourage agency owners to have in place so they're positioned to make good decisions around InsurTech solutions. If you missed that session, please visit avast.com and find the blog on our website. There's a link to the presentation there. George, let's take a moment to recap those fundamentals to set the stage for today.
Sure thing, Kitty. The first of the 5 fundamentals we outlined was know your numbers. By understanding where the agency is in terms of growth, retention, productivity, and profitability, agency owners can discover opportunities that will point them in the right direction in terms of technology solutions.
And fundamental number 2 was to know your strengths and build on them while acknowledging your weaknesses and addressing them.
And Kitty, the third fundamental was to stay aware of what is going on in our industry and in the world at large. This can be achieved by carving out time to review legislative bulletins from our associations, reading trade press magazines and e-newsletters, keeping abreast of world economic news, and watching what's happening with the competition.
Having a written strategic plan was our 4th fundamental, and be reminded the plan should include goals, action steps, and timelines.
And the 5th fundamental was executing the plan, then monitoring results and adjusting as needed. The monitoring takes place by knowing your numbers. So it took us right back, Kitty, to fundamental number 1.
That is so true. And so much of any business is based on a foundation of fundamentals that can be built upon. And that's what we want to do with today's InsurTech Talk, build on those fundamentals by providing some key ideas around how to implement technology updates or even new technology solutions. The simple truth is that without a roadmap for where you wish to take your organization, it's difficult to make decisions around technology that can help you get there.
That's right. By getting clear direction, crafting plans, and monitoring results, agency owners are in a better position to select the right technologies for the firm. Having some proven tactics for selecting and implementing the right solutions is the focus of our talk today.
That's right. Today, we're going to outline 3 key ideas to ensure that your technology transformation goes smoothly. Number 1 will be about overcoming the tendency we have to resist change. Number 2, we want to approach technology investment as part of our strategic plan. And then thirdly, we need to support that strategy with solid tactics. So let's get started.
The first idea we want to touch on is the need to overcome our natural human tendency to resist change. There are so many reasons why we tend to shy away from making a change. This might include an initial loss of productivity when we make a change to a process, procedure, or workflow. It might be the perception that we're too busy to take the time to learn something new. Or it could be that we just have a fear of failure. I mean, what if that system upgrade or some other new solution doesn't work like we thought it would?
Well, George, I think we can probably all agree that we are somewhat hardwired to resist change, especially when it comes to technology. But we must remember that the benefits of embracing new ways of doing things can be significant. I know personally, I've been extremely frustrated lately with the never-ending Windows 10 updates. There are often some surprises in those updates, and I do continue to feel, though, that the upside from a security perspective outweighs the inconvenience and the initial time drain of installing them. As it turns out, I'm actually not alone in the resistance to installing updates. There was a survey done by Pew Research that found that 14% of people never update their mobile phone's operating system, and 42% only do so when it's convenient, despite the fact that these updates do often contain urgent security fixes. So here's a tool that is vital to life today. We use our phones for so many things these days, yet we resist the idea of change when it comes to keeping it updated in a timely fashion. So research also goes on to show that this behavior is related to our brain's evolution. We've evolved over time to react in a way that protects us from danger. So the frequent notifications around updating software, for example, actually causes the release of stress hormones. It's sort of that fight or flight response. And I just find all of that very fascinating. But we still need to make a difference, right?
Absolutely, and it certainly is fascinating, Kitty, but we must overcome that tendency to fight change. The only thing that is constant is change, proclaimed Greek philosopher Heraclitus. His teachings revolved around the idea that life is flux. With this concept in mind, we must realize that if we want opportunity and growth, we must also accept that it comes with the pain of change. Our next 2 ideas should help us minimize that pain.
That's right. And the next idea is to approach your technology as an investment and a strategic decision. It's important to consider the overall strategic plan for your business and ensure your technology choices are aligned. In addition, I think it's critical that we understand that when technology is involved, it's a journey. It's not a destination. As we've already pointed out, change is the constant. Once a technology is implemented, it will require updates, so we certainly must select that with the longer term view in mind.
Yeah, Kitty, I would agree. New technology should drive transformation of the business in some fashion. It doesn't make sense to invest in a new solution or even in a substantial system upgrade if the agency isn't clear on what their growth goals are. I can recall times when, as a technology sales rep, I would call on an agency that had no real strategic plan in place. Some agencies even had selected a management system that didn't fit their core goals. One such agency selected a system that was focused on commercial lines, and their agency was 95% personal lines, and they had no intent of moving to commercial. On another occasion, I spoke with an agency that wanted to increase their digital marketing and selected a solution that didn't even provide an option for digital marketing.
Wow.
So they had to purchase an additional digital marketing solution.
It's crazy, right? Well, those are all very important things to keep in mind so that, once a strategic decision has been made to select and implement a technology solution that's aligned with your goals and will drive growth, there are some very tactical steps that we should keep in mind. And that's really the basis of our third key idea today: support solid strategy with solid tactics. Here are 4 key tactics that we want to consider as we work on system selection and implementation. First of all, think about your clients. Consider their needs and their expectations. Now, understand that this will vary by the markets you serve or the markets that you wish to serve. So remember, we want to keep the future in mind as we're working on our strategic plan as well. Also keep in mind that your competition really isn't always the agency across town or the direct writer if you're an independent agent. Competition includes businesses that are shaping our consumer expectations. Things like Amazon and their same-day delivery, or Trivago, where you can get multiple hotel options right at your fingertips. So one of the best ways to find out what your clients are thinking is to actually ask them. At a minimum, conduct a survey to determine what their likes and dislikes are and what might improve their insurance experience with your agency. Better yet, invite a cross-section of your client base in to be a focus group. Ask them for candid feedback and ideas for things your agency might do that would set you apart in the customer mindset.
Right. Keeping client needs front and center can go a long way in selecting features and benefits of a new technology solution. As important is to involve other stakeholders too. Think about your employees and how a new system will empower them and enhance their ability to service clients. Also consider your insurance company, MGA and wholesaler relationships. Will a new technology solution integrate well with their workflows? Now, if you are more technologically advanced than your trading partners, it may be time to consider some new partners. That would be something to build into your strategic planning conversations. And Kitty, over the past years, I've seen agencies fire a vendor because they did not keep up with the growing trend of digital marketing or improving the customer experience.
Sure, yeah. There's a lot of truth to that, and again, back to that planning and monitoring the results is critical to leading in that direction. But once you have a good feel for the features needed in a technology solution that would support your agency's strategic objectives, it's time to go shopping. So when you do start setting up demos, you'll want to have a checklist of features and functionalities that are mandatory, and then have another list of nice to have. Put things like the timeline for implementation, the approach to training and ongoing support. Is it live or is it going to all be virtual? Possibilities for integrations with other systems that improve that end-to-end and streamline the workflows for you. What are the setup and ongoing costs of this technology investment? What's the projected return on the investment? And you also want to consider the vendor's commitment to innovation as you put together your checklist. Now, be sure to involve a variety of agency personnel. Think about the stakeholders. Involve them in the demo sessions and have each person provide their candid feedback on the various items that you've identified as mandatory and nice to have. What's another tactic, George?
I think the fourth and final tactic idea we should have to share today is to commit to and be sure to budget for training, regular maintenance, and system upgrades when you're making your new technology decisions. Ideally, the vendor you select will provide a good assessment of how their solution can make your firm successful, which will include a suggested implementation timeline and training schedule. Part of the commitment to training and maintenance is to assign a champion for the project. This could be an individual or a team that is responsible for ensuring the implementation stays on track, including on time and on budget. The champion or champions will be responsible for holding the agency staff members accountable for completing training, using the new system as intended, and reporting any issues or challenges and recommendations for addressing them.
Yes, and I've learned over the years that so much of change management simply boils down to planning and good communication. It's vital to have a vision for the solution and how it's going to support the overall agency's business strategy. So those ideas then can be assimilated into the development and tactical execution of that well-communicated plan. I always encourage agency leaders to really think about how they would want to learn about changes coming their way. You know, proactive planning and communication of expectations, it builds trust and it minimizes that stress that people feel when change is on the horizon. And a great read anytime you're deploying something that involves change is Who Moved My Cheese? If you haven't read it lately, I encourage you to do so because the characters, Sniff, Scurry, Hem, and Haw, remind us of all the facets to address in our planning and communication.
Yes, Kitty, it really is about culture. In my experience, when agency owners are supportive and involved in the technology decision making with an eye toward innovation, transformation, and modernization, the staff gets excited and is willing to try new things. When change comes as more of a mandate, the attitude towards adoption is much less positive.
Yes, and I think Henry Ford shared the idea that if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So for independent agents to effectively transform using various InsurTech solutions, we really do have to think well beyond what we've always done.
That's right. And to recap the 3 key ideas for implementing new technology in your agency: 1, overcome the tendency to resist change. 2, approach your technology investment as strategic. 3, support strategy with solid tactics.
And those solid tactics involve considering, involving, comparing, and committing along the way. So hopefully we've given today's audience a few things to think about and a little bit of structure around what is going on. I want to take a moment and see if we have any specific questions out here. I did see one pop up, and George, I think we're going to get into this in detail in our next InsurTech Talk, but what recommendations are there for how to select a management system in line with strategy?
Absolutely. And I tell you, we are going to cover that in our next session. And I think one of the things we really need to really review is where are we today as an agency and what are we doing? What is our book of business? Are we more personal lines or commercial lines? And where are we trying to go? Where do we want to get to? So, what does our future hold for us? Are we looking to move more towards commercial or a special niche market? So as you look at these particular aspects of the agency, you want to build that into your system solutions. Will you need an online portal? Will you need digital marketing? Will you need a mobile application to tie in? And all of these things will play into the selection of the system. So I think that's one of the key factors as we begin to review that. And we'll cover a lot of that next week.
Great. Yeah, next month, but that's okay. It brings to mind as you talk about those things. I was recently at a seminar and the conversation revolved around what are the underutilized tools in management systems today, and it was a vendor panel, and there were 6 or 8 management systems represented on this panel, and to a person, the vendor representative said, we estimate people use 40 to 50% of the features and functionality that our systems have available. And the disappointing part to them was that they would lose customers to another solution for something that really was already in the solution that the customer had. They just didn't know it. So I think there's a lot of value in talking with your existing vendors, doing sort of an audit of what are you using, what are you not using. Did you even know it was out there? Because so often we have these updates get pushed down to us and we don't even know what enhancements are involved in the update and what new features and functionality, because again, we're back to not taking the time, not planning for the change. Even though it seems like a simple change, you still got to read the release notes and you still have to kind of figure out what does that mean to us and how is that going to impact our workflow and our business strategy and what new opportunities does it create for us. And I just find people, we're all strapped for time, right? But it's such a critical investment. Take the time to learn what's new and what's coming your way can really go a long way as well. So any other?
And I agree, Kitty.
Yep.
I would say this. I had one instance where I was working with an agency and they were looking for a new management system. And the main reason they were looking for the management system was because they wanted document management built into the system. And I just sat there and smiled, asked them what version they were on. And I walked over to the system and I made a few changes in the setup and boom, there it was. They had document management
already there.
And they didn't even know it. Yeah, they didn't even know it. And they were like, wow.
Yeah.
And so I said, you need to look at this before you decide to make another decision.
Right. Nope. And I think that's very powerful. And I will say in the really good vendor solution providers, they walk you through that. They contact you and they're making investments in their customer success teams to check in with customers to be sure they know that they've got these tools available and can make use of them. So before we wrap up today, one of the things that I think we'll do is there are so many resources out there, and I think we'll put together a list of resources and links in our show notes for today's InsurTech Talk, because personally I'm involved with the Augie ecosystem project, and George, I know you have a lot of guidance in various blogs and articles you've created, so we'll put that together for the audience and make sure that they have some additional resources to learn more about this whole idea of implementing new technology in the agency. So we hope that you'll join us next month when, as George has mentioned, we are going to highlight the 5 areas to review when you're selecting or reviewing your management system. And if you have other topics that you would like to address, please let us know. I can be reached at kitty@avis.com and George is at grobertson@georgerobertsonconsulting.com. And I do just want to share that InsurTech Talk is brought to you by Avist. And for insurance professionals seeking to eliminate those inefficient workflows, Avist technology brings together all players in the industry's ecosystem, including agents, brokers, carriers, MGAs, wholesalers, and even other tech firms. The Avist team comprises entrepreneurs, insurance experts, and technology advocates who for years have campaigned to improve the experience for both the insurance professional and the consumer. At Avist, we actually envision a world where a confident insurance professional delivers an enjoyable customer experience without paper or error. You can find out more by visiting us at avist.com. And also a big thank you to George Robertson of George Robertson Consulting. As you have heard, George is a very knowledgeable resource on insurance technology matters, and again, can be reached directly at grobertson@georgerobertsonconsulting.com. Thank you for listening in today. We look forward to chatting with you next month. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Kitty.